Hello and welcome to today's video, which is all about painting flowers in watercolour using very wet paper, and as the paper dries, seeing how the layers build. So this paper, which is sea whites, 300 grams per square metre in weight, has been soaking for about 5 minutes. I'm using a Pro Art brush and also a graduate brush. That'll be to put my initial washes on. So I'm going to start off with the background colour, and I will be taking out areas of white just where the flowers are going to be. So I'm thinking of a cool colour, so I'm going with a turquoise. I'm mixing phthalo green and a little bit of ultramarine to get my turquoise. So here goes. I'm making sure I've got quite a lot because I think it will take quite a lot. I want a little bit more blue than green, otherwise the leaves are not going to stand out. So putting it pretty much all over. This has actually dried quite a bit in the time I was talking, so just re-wet it a little bit. I could squirt it with water if I want to. That's it, and watch it drop down, get a little bit of texture going on here, and I'll leave some areas of white. I could leave areas of white where the flowers are going to go, or I can take it out with a tissue. I'm going to take it out with a tissue. So yes, it's drying quite a bit, even though the paper was quite well soaked. So while I've got that on there, where my daisies are, I'm going to just screw up a little bit and press in to get the white. I'm not trying to be accurate, I just want the feel of the flowers really. More daisies up here. You can see where it's drying a bit, it's harder to take the paint off. And over here we have some nice daisies as well. And also where these purple flowers are, I'm going to take out as well, because the blue will change the colour of the pink. In there, in there, and we have some coming up here. So I'm working very quickly because I don't want this to stain paper too much before I've had a chance to take the paint off. One up here. Oops, I've hit on my daisies. It's going to have to clash with my daisies there. Take a few more daisies out here. And up here, let's have lots of daisies. Take a few out here as well. And also over here we have some of these flowers, so I'll take areas out there, and one that drops down here. I don't want it dropping straight down, so I'll angle it so it comes out here. So you don't necessarily have to wipe out. As I said, you can leave areas when you're painting, or you can put masking fluid on before you soak the paper. So anyway, I think that's it for achieving my pale areas. So now I'm going to put in some suggestions of green all around these areas. So I'm going to take my phthalo green and I'm going to mix some cadmium yellow medium into it to get more of a sap green, and I can add a hint of red if I want to make it duller. And I want a variety of different greens going on, so I'm going to put more yellow in some areas over here, maybe. So I've got a couple of greens on my palette here. Okay, starting at the top with pale yellow green. and I don't want to go over where my daisies are. So this is just the initial feeling my way and feeling my layers. There are actually some buds as well, so I'm going to take a little bit out for my buds. So I will drag my tissue because they're quite formed shapes. Any more buds? Yes, I have one here. And I can actually add a few if I want. So back to my green, and you can see it's bleeding an awful lot. So I'm just going to, oh, wrong green. Oh well, that will blend. So I'm just going to give suggestions of bits of foliage going on up here. And around here. So nothing definite. I can actually take a leaf over the edge there, so the edge of my flowers have a little bit of form. Goes darker in there. I can see an interesting leaf that comes out here. And all the shapes I'm making at the moment, because the paper is so wet, they're not going to stay. So I'm just making forms. Unless I go off the edge, in which case it seems to have dried more. Obviously, I suppose, because this has got another layer of paint on it. Over here, a little bit more green behind where these flowers are going to go. And I've actually missed out these two flowers. So what I could do is take them out now. They won't be as pale, I don't think, because, oh, that's not bad. The paper's stained a little bit. There. That's it. Happy with that. So back to my green. I'm going to also add a little bit more yellow, so I get a little bit of warmth. So going on down here. And there are some stems down here as well. So I quite like the way all the blue has dropped down and dripped. And I can make the green also do the same thing. And a little bit of suggestion over here. Mainly I'm going to have the suggestion of colour, I think, in here. This is very yellow, so I might put in a little bit more green than that yellow. You can take your time with this because it doesn't dry that quickly. I've actually got a heater blower going on in the studio, so it's drying a little bit faster than it would if I didn't have that. I'm going to drop a few flowers, stems down here as well. I'm going to keep this quite delicate and pale. I'll see how I get on with the flowers. I'm going to wait till this area has dried quite a bit more before I start putting in the flowers, because I don't want them to disappear, which is what will happen. I could put in a few lines there. So I'm going very lightly and I'm quite carefully. I don't know how this is going to look at the end. It's one of those you don't really know what's going to happen with the process. But I'm getting the feel of leaves, which I'm quite happy with. I might start to put in a little bit more strength of colour inside behind the flowers. And if I felt like it at this moment, I think I will dry the area a little bit just to get a bit more definition when I put the flowers on. So, using my smaller brush, I'm now going to use pink to put my flowers on. They are quite purple, but because they've got a bit of blue in the background, I'm going to go with a bit more stronger pink, which will probably, where it goes over the blue, will make them purple anyway. So, very carefully, I'm going to start marking in the flowers. So, and as you can see, it's dried quite a bit, so the flowers are showing up on there. Actually, they have dried an awful lot. I'm going to put a little bit of water on them to soften them. And what I might do is run a little bit of water into these areas here to get them a little bit softer. So I'm just approximating the look of the petals. It's the feel of the flower I want more than anything too detailed. Going a little bit abstract here. That's a shame about that one because it's a bit too solid. Oops, sorry, camera wobble. You've got a bit of a leaf that runs that way, and a flower next to it. It's a little bit squashed. So I'm kind of drawing as I go with these. And these will disappear somewhat, so I'll probably end up tightening them up, darkening them a little bit. I'm not too keen on that shape, so I'll take that out. I like the way that disappears. So moving on up to a flower up here. And again, that's quite dry in there, so I'll just put a little bit of water in there to soften it. Going over to this one. And there's one underneath here as well. That might drip, which I'll be happy with. Moving over to here, we've got this one that drops down. It's got a bit of a dirty red because I've got some of the blue in it. And also over here we've got one. And then one behind, which is in the dark a little bit. So let's see now. We've got one here. Ooh, that's very, very loud. I think I'll water that one down a little bit. I actually like the strength of that. I'm just debating going a bit stronger with the other flowers. Yeah, I like that. So you can see as it's drying that I'm getting more definition in my brushwork. And I'm getting a little bit more abstract as I go. Now for focal point, I think it is round here. We'll be putting the purple flowers in soon, but I think I'm going to go a little bit darker just within here for a nice strong focal area. The purple, when I put that on, will be quite dark as well. Okay, so I think I'll put the purple in now, because I do want it to bleed a little bit. If it's too dry, they won't bleed. Too wet, they will end up bleeding everywhere. So I want to make sure that I get it right. So I'm just going to, off screen, my apologies, mix a bit of purple. Purple is one of my favourite colours to work with, especially with the white night paints that I'm using, because it's got such a deep hue to it. Okay, right, so we are going to have some of them around here. Right, that's not bleeding at all, which is really not what I wanted. I want it to bleed a little bit. So I'm going to very lightly squirt the area. And hopefully it should start bleeding a little bit. Yeah, that's great. That's just what I wanted. So I'm just looking at the shapes of the flowers that I can see. Yeah, and you can see it's spidering out a little bit. It's good. I'm saving the stems till last. Because I'm placing my flowers compositionally and the stems can just go anywhere really. It's quite dark within here. So I'm going over my blue and then bring this down over here a little bit, I think. And then I've got one just down there. And some going in here over to this side. I'll take these a little bit higher up. To give them a bit more solidity. And I think I'm happy with that. I can take a few bits out if I want to put highlights in. I'm not sure whether I'm going to put this bow in. I might have to think about that. I think what I might do is take a flower up there, somewhere a little higher as well, because they're all in one place. So I'm thinking about composition as I work. That's very dry now, so I can control it a little bit more easily. So that can be a background flower. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in the stems for the daisies. So I'm going to go with a bit of a phthalo green. No, actually phthalo green with some yellow in. I think I'll make them quite yellow. And I'll just take, as you can see, it's not moving anymore, which is nice, because this is the more detailed areas. Over here as well. And across there. And at the top. The daisies also have underneath a little bit of greenery where the flower comes out. I need to learn my flower terms. So I'm just going to put a little bit of colouring underneath them. And probably that's all I'll do on the daisies. And also I'm going to put in some of these yellow little stems at the top. So this is quite nice for things like cards. And I think I'll have a little bit of a suggestion of something over there to balance it out. Yep. So I'm going to do a little bit of greenery on my flowers here, and also I'm going to put in some of the buds that I can see. So I'm just going to, they're very linear, so I'm just going to put those in like that. Oops, that was a stray movement of brush, never mind. And I'm going to put a little bit of yellow into these to make them a little bit more lively. And then a red. Might be too much yellow. Yellow and the pink purple go really well together. And a streak of red. Which will turn a bit orange. That's okay. I'm going to have another one down here. and look for any more. There's one here as well. Change my colour a little bit. Maybe have another one going behind this flower. Once again, put some yellow in. And a little bit of red. Not too happy with the shape of this one here. So now I'm going to start working on the leaves a little bit. I think I'll go a little cooler for the leaves for these flowers, although they do have quite a lot of yellow in them. So I'm just going to, with very weak paint, suggest some leafy areas. I'm just using the tip of my brush. I'm going to put some stems in, and small. And I'm just playing a little bit abstract. Going to bring that out a little bit more. I want the flowers to be the strongest bit, so I don't want the leaves behind to dominate. Sort of a interesting little leaf in there. I think I'm going to add a bit of yellow into that, and drop a bit of yellow into the stems down here. And I have a flower, a little daisy that just comes up here, so I'm going to put that in. A few more leaves here. And I'm going to just drip some leaves, some stems down in the bottom here. Now the stems for these are quite brown and crispy, so I think to add a little bit of interest I will put a bit of a sienna in there, and maybe drop a few bits of sienna elsewhere as well. So like that. maybe a little bit into here, just for a bit of harmony. So now I'm going to put a little bit more pink into my flowers just to bring them out a bit more. Oh, actually, that was an accident, but I like it, so I'm going to drip a little bit more of that colour down, I think. Yeah, like that. A bit in here, maybe. Okay, so on these flowers, you can just see inside you've got these little marks, and you also have bits of green. So I'm thinking that I might replace the green with yellow and add a little bit of yellow into these. Well, it's gone a little bit green. Bit more red into the flowers. And then I'm going to go a little bit darker behind with stems again. I don't want to go too heavy-handed because it can end up quite confusing, but just a few to suggest depth. And I think, yes, to bring my flowers out a little bit more, I'm going to put more red on them. So I've gone far away from what's in front of me, working with some artistic license here. And then finally I'm going to put on the dark dots that I can see. So I'm going to mix a deep red with a bit of blue. And then just using the very tip of my brush, very carefully dot my flowers. And this again is in a loose abstract way. You can even do a little bit of splattering. Just mixing a bit more paint. A few dots in here. This will run a bit. It's not splattering very efficiently. Okay. And I think what I might do actually is, because the daisies do disappear a little bit, I'm just going to put in that yellow-green centre for some of them, like that. I think actually that helps the viewer to see what's going on with them, and to see that they're actually supposed to be flowers there rather than white areas. And I'm going to do another little bit of flicking, so I do like my flicking of yellow. Oh, that might have been a bit much. And so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you could see how you can work from very, very wet right the way through to quite detailed. It's spontaneous and unpredictable. You might have to do it a few times before you're happy with your results, but I hope you have a go and I hope you enjoy it. Bye.